So as my team Bradford City have now played 23 games, exactly halfway through the Sky Bet League 2 table, I thought I would try and predict what the table will look like by the end of the season. We'll compare it as well to the table that I predicted at the start of the season. There's certainly some shockers in there. Carlisle to finish 20th, Barrow in the relegation zone, so it's certainly going to be an interesting one. If you do go on to enjoy today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. If you could try and hit 100 likes on today's video, that'd be massively appreciated. Subscribe if you are new as well. We are now on the road to 7,000 subscribers, so please make sure you are subscribed if you haven't already with that post notification button. It's free to do so and it does massively help out. Get your thoughts in it down in the comment section down below. As of right now, who do you think the two teams that will be relegated, who do you think they will be? And also, what is your top 7? Which 4 teams do you think will achieve promotion? Make sure you drop a like on today's video. Subscribe if you are new as well. It's going to be an interesting one, so let's get into it. Starting out then in 24th place, I am going to go with Rochdale. At the start of the season, I predicted them to finish 18th. They're currently in 23rd. I just think their squad is very, very weak. Offensively, they're not bad. They've got some good players. Scott Quigley, Ian Henderson, Odo as well. They do have some okay players, but defensively, they're an absolute shambles. Jim Bentley's gone in there since the sacking of Robbie Stockdale. I think he's done an okay job, to be honest with you, with the squad of players that he's got at his disposal, but I haven't really seen too much, really. That looks like they're going to be strengthening all too much, especially in January. Their owners are currently looking for some more investment. They're struggling on and off the pitch, and for me personally, I think Rochdale will be finishing bottom of the league at the end of the season. The other team taking up the relegation spot in 23rd place, I'm going to go with Crawley Town. At the start of the season, I predicted them to finish 11th. They're currently 20th. Started out the season with Kevin Betsy. I've had a couple of managers since then, permanent, interim, that one of their bloody co-owners is now in the dugouts week in, week out. So whatever is going on at Crawley Town, it's an absolute shambles at this moment in time. A few of their players as well have been frozen out of the squads. They won't be playing for Crawley Town again, although they're currently contracted to win. They obviously sold Tom Nichols as well to a relegation rival, Gillingham, for I think only £50,000-60,000. It's a shambles at this moment in time what is going on with Crawley Town. I can only see them going on to get relegated, so I'm going to predict them to finish in 23rd. 22nd place, I'm going to go with Gillingham. It's been a terrible season for Gillingham so far. They cannot score goals for the life of them. They're currently bottom of the table. At the start of the season though, I predicted them to finish 9th, thought under Neil Harris to be able to do an okay steady job this season, but they really are struggling at this moment in time. I think they are going to just about have enough to get over the line. I don't think it's going to be because they're, going to be better really than Crawley and Rochdale. I think Rochdale and Crawley are just going to be worse than Gillingham by the end of the season. I think Gillingham every now and again will be able to scrape a 1-0 scrappy win, especially against those teams that are around them. They are obviously strengthening in January at this moment in time, so I think Gillingham will just about be able to avoid relegation by the end of the season. 21st place, I'm going to go with Colchester United. I think they are the team that have been the most active in this transfer window in League 2 so far. I think they've already made 3 or 4 signings. They're currently 21st in the table, and at the start of the season I predicted them to finish 22nd. They've signed Fika Kelleher from my team Bradford City on a 2.5-year contract for an undisclosed fee. Now when he played for us, I don't think he was awful. He did have some really bad games though. Like I remember away at Carlisle, he got absolutely skinned by Mary Patrick. He's not the greatest on the ball. He's a good defender, always give you 100-110% week in, week out, but he's technically not the greatest. 2.5-year contract as well, quite a long-term contract there for him, but I think Colchester should have more than enough to be able to stay up if they keep strengthening in the way that they have. Obviously already signing Arthur Reed from Stevenage, Connor Wood as well on loan from Leyton Orient. I think they've got more than enough there to stay above the drop zone. In 20th place, I'm going to go with Hartlepool United. I predicted them at the start of the season to finish 19th. They're currently 22nd. I don't really know why they're struggling so much this season. They've got some good players on paper. Josh Ummera is a goal scorer at this level. He's not going to get you 20 goals, but he might get you between 8 and 12, something like that. Callum Cook is a very good player if you can get the best out of him. I do think defensively though, they do look a bit weak at times. I certainly do think they need to bring in a couple of defenders in this transfer window, but I don't really think they have too many relegation worries if they are able to do that, and I think they'll finish in 20th place. 19th place, I'm going to go with Harrogate Town. They are actually currently in 19th at this moment in time, but at the start of the season, I predicted them to finish 24th. I just simply did not see the quality in their squad. Obviously, losing Jack Diamond as well. He had obviously returned from his loan spell to Sunderland. I think he's out spending the season currently with Lincoln City. I don't really know too much of how well he is getting on there, but whatever seems to happen with Harrogate, they always seem to just have just enough really to stay up, so I think they'll probably end up surviving once again, and I think it'll be a 19th place finish for Harrogate Town. In 18th place, I am going to go with Newport County. At the start of the season, I predicted them to finish 14th. They are actually currently in 18th at this moment in time. It's just going to be an average season for Newport. I think I said it at the start of the season. They either seem to finish in the playoffs or lower mid-table. Whatever is going on really wrong at Newport? I'm not really too sure. Obviously, they lost all the goals that Dom Telford scored last season with him joining Crawley in the summer. You know, that is a big loss for them. Omar Bogle not really doing the business as expected with Newport County, but I think it'll be an 18th place finish for the Welsh outfit. In 17th place, I'm going to go with Crewe Alexandra. I thought they would struggle this season. You know, I predicted them at the start of the season to finish 15th. They are actually currently in 17th at this moment in time. I'm not really too sure why it's going wrong there, because I think overall their starting 11 is actually, you know, a very good starting 11. Maybe they've got injuries. I know Courtney Baker-Richardson's been suffering for them so far this season, and he's a, you know, a very good player at this level. You know, he's going to score you goals and all that sort of stuff. But I think, unfortunately for Crewe, it is going to be a lower mid-table finish for them this season. In 16th place, I'm going to go with Sutton United. Now, at the start of the season, I predicted them to finish 21st. I did think the loss of David Ajaboye was going to be a significant one. It clearly has been, because obviously they just missed out on the playoffs last season. Now they're currently sat 12th in the table. They have actually re-signed David Ajaboye on loan until the end of the season, and you would think that from going from 12th down to 16th when they've signed their best player from last season, that doesn't really make sense. I just don't think that they've got enough quality in that side. All they are is one David Ajaboye injury away from being exactly back at square one. And when my team Bradford City played against them, defensively they looked okay, but offensively they looked really, really poor. Never really troubled our goal, to be honest with you. They are going to be direct and put balls into your box, but if you're able to deal with the first and second contact, which a lot of teams seem to be able to do with them, obviously playing a 4-4-2, it's quite easy to overrun them in the centre of the park. I just think, for me personally, a 16th place finish for Sutton United, and I don't think that is the end of the world. In 15th place, now I genuinely think from 15th upwards, any of these teams could have an outside chance of getting in the playoffs. 15th place though, I'm going to go with Doncaster Rovers. At the start of the season, I predicted them to finish 8th. They are actually currently 8th in the table, but I just think they are going to fall off. I don't really rate Gary McSheffrey. He obviously got the sack. Then Danny Schofield's come in. I can't say I really rate him as a manager. They've been very inconsistent so far this season. I've struggled to get the best out of players like Luke Molyneux and all that sort of stuff. George Miller's had a decent season so far. Like I say though, any team from 15th onwards could have an outside chance of the playoffs, but I think Doncaster are going to fall off and finish in 15th by the end of the season. In 14th place, I'm going to go with Grimsby Town. At the start of the season, I predicted them to finish 17th. They're currently 16th in the table, and I think they're not really going to have too much of a shout of getting into the playoffs. I think their home form has been a little bit shaky so far this season. Obviously, I know recently they got a brilliant 1-0 win over Stockport County. How Stockport didn't score in that game, I will never know. But I think they need to stick with Paul Hurst, give him time, give him some backing as well in the January transfer window. Hopefully, James McAtee as well can recover from his injury. I don't know how long that is, but hopefully he should be back very soon for them anyway. And I think it will be a 14th place finish for Grimsby this season. In 13th place, I'm going to go with AFC Wimbledon. At the start of the season, I predicted them to finish 16th. They're currently 14th in the table. I think at this moment in time, it's looking very likely Ayuba Sal will be leaving the football club, which obviously will be a big loss for them. Johnny Jackson's come out and said that he's ill. We all know what happens when a player is suddenly ill in the transfer window. I think more than likely he will move on, which will be a big loss for him. If they can replace them, then obviously I think they might be able to push on a little bit higher up that table, but for now, obviously they're doing better than what I thought at the start of the season, but overall I think it'll be a lower half finish for AFC Wimbledon in their first season back in League 2. Moving in then to the top half of the table, in 12th place I'm going to go with Tranmere Rovers. A significant drop off from the 3rd place that I predicted for them at the start of the season. They're currently 15th in the table as well. It's been a really, really poor season so far for Tranmere Rovers. Mickey Mellon looking more than likely he will probably struggle to see out the remainder of the season at Tranmere if they do carry on how they are going. Some of their players are currently being linked with a move away from the football club as well. I think it's Josh Hawkes. I want to say he's a central midfielder, maybe a striker, something like that. He's been linked with all sorts of League 1 clubs and even Salford City at this moment in time. If they lose him, that would be a big loss. They need to keep Cam Hemmings and Nevitt as well. They need to keep them two fixed. They're their only real goal threats, to be honest with you. Hasn't really worked out for whatever reason so far for Tranmere Rovers, and I think they'll finish smack bang in the middle of the table. In 11th place, I'm going to go with Walsall FC. One place higher than where I predicted them at the start of the season. They're currently 9th in the table. Obviously, it was a really poor start to the season, but Michael Flynn seems to have turned it around there. They seem to be going in the right direction. I think if they get a couple of additions in through the door in the January transfer window, then I certainly think they could push towards the playoffs. But for now, I'm going to stick with them to finish in 11th this season. In 10th place, I'm going to go with Barrow AFC. At the start of the season, I've no idea why I predicted them to finish 23rd. They're currently 10th in the table as well. At the start of the season, when I did my original League 2 table predictions, I gave Barrow's signing so much praise, like George Ray, Ben Whitfield, Josh Gordon's a very good player at this level as well. And for some reason, I've predicted them to finish in the relegation zone. I've no idea why I did that. I am not going to make that mistake again though. I'm going to stick them in 10th, an outside chance of the playoffs at this moment in time, and I think it will be, like what I say, a 10th place finish for Barrow. In 9th place, I'm going to go with Swindon Town. At the start of the season, I had them occupying the final playoff spot in 7th. They're currently 6th in the table. I'm just not overly convinced by their manager. I'm going to make a bold shout, and I'm going to say Charlie Austin will flop at Swindon Town. I think anything less than 8 goals for a striker of his quality at Swindon Town should be considered as a flop. I don't really rate their manager. At the time of my original prediction as well, Harry McCurdy was still with the football club. Obviously, he ended up moving on to Hibernian, which was a big loss for them. But I think for now, I'm going to stick with Swindon to finish in 9th place. In 8th place, I'm going to go with Salford City. At the start of the season, I had them to finish 10th. They're currently 11th, and when I've watched them, both times when I've watched them live, you know, offensively, they do look really good. They've got some good goal threats in there, like Conor McElhaney, Matt Smith will cause you some issues at this level, and that's not even mentioning players like Odin Bailey, Callum Hendry as well when he's fit. So I think Salford, if they can tighten up defensively, maybe get another centre-half, and I think they've recently signed Alex Cairns as well on loan for the rest of the campaign. I do think that's a good signing because Tom King has been really underwhelming so far for Salford this season. I think Salford just quite won't have enough though to make it into the top 7 in my opinion. In 7th place, I'm going to go with Stockport County. At the start of the season, I had them to finish 4th. They're currently 13th in the table. It was a shocking start to the season for Stockport. It seemed that recently they were building some momentum, winning back-to-back games, the odd draw in there as well, and then they've lost away at Grimsby Town, who've been on some really poor form. That's just football for you. I think at the end though, Stockport will probably be able to achieve the playoffs, and obviously the team that usually does finish 7th is the one that has the momentum and, you know, might get to Wembley and maybe even promoted into League One through that way. A lot of people thought at the start of the season they would be challenging for the title and all that sort of stuff. I didn't quite see a top 3 place finish for Stockport, but I certainly didn't think they'd be 13th at this moment in time. In 6th place, I'm going to go with Mansfield Town. I made a whole separate video about why Mansfield would win the league this season. That is obviously where I predicted them to finish. They're currently 7th in the table. It hasn't really worked out. Obviously, the 3-4 month injury to Reece Oates hasn't helped that. You know, it's a big loss for them throughout their months. I think Will Swan's a very good player at this level. I just think Nigel Clough at times makes some very odd decisions. Playing Jordan Bowery at wing back, Ollie Hawkins at centre half, I think he's much better as a striker in my opinion. I think there has been some questionable decisions by Nigel Clough. I understand that obviously teams get injuries and all that sort of stuff, but if you're gonna play players out of positions, maybe you need to be getting a bigger squad, all that sort of stuff. But I think Mansfield will still have more than enough to finish in the playoffs, but not quite, obviously, to get into that top 3. In 5th place, I am going to go with Carlisle United. At the start of the season, I had them to finish 20th. They're currently 4th in the table. I think I remember something along the lines of saying a lot of Carlisle fans think they'll be getting into the playoffs this season. I cannot see that happening in a million years. And now look where they are, above my team in the table. So that's just football for you at the end of the day. I didn't really think they had really too many goal scorers in their team, but they've spread them out very nicely. Mari Patrick, if he can keep fit for the remainder of the season, I think they've got an outside chance of the top 3, to be honest with you, if they can keep as consistent as what they are doing. But obviously, Mari Patrick, very injury prone. They've had a lot of issues with injuries so far this season. So who would have known where Carlisle would have finished this season if they had been able to keep all their players fit? And the final team occupying a playoff spot, I'm going to go with my team, Bradford City, in 4th place. At the start of the season, I had us to finish 5th. We are currently 5th in the table, but I think we will be able to just increase slightly up into 4th place. I don't think we'll have enough, though, to get into that top 3. I think the gap already is just slightly too big, to be honest with you. All them teams in the top 3, that be Northampton, Orient and Stevenage, they all seem to be able to beat one another, whereas when we played Northampton, terrible. When we played Leyton Orient, first 20 minutes good, after that absolutely shocking. So I don't think we'll quite have enough to get into that top 3. Obviously the returning Emmanuel Osidibe at the end of January will be big news for us. Hopefully he can come in and add that little bit of quality that we have been missing in the centre of midfield so far this season. But I think unfortunately my team Bradford City will be finishing in 4th, and like what I've said since the start of the season, I think this year we will lose out in the playoff final, unfortunately. Moving in then to my top 3. In 3rd place, I'm going to go with Northampton Town. At the start of the season, I predicted them to finish 2nd. They're currently 3rd in the table, but I think there's 4 or 5 points between them and 2nd place Stevenage. I think they're a very good side, certainly one of the better sides in this division. I do think they will be able to achieve automatic promotion by the end of the season. They should have been promoted last season. How they didn't in the end was an absolute tragedy, to be honest with you. I think overall they'll have more than enough though to get up on this occasion. In second place, something that might shock a few people, I'm going to go with Leyton Orient. At the start of the season, I predicted them to finish 6th. I knew they would be up there. They're currently 1st in the table. I think they're 2 or 3 points ahead of Stevenage at this moment in time, but they have hit a little bit of a wobble, couple draws, and I think a defeat in their last couple of matches, which obviously isn't ideal. I think they do need to strengthen in this January transfer window. Maybe another out-and-out natural striker option, because Kelman's, I see him more of a winger, to be honest with you. Paul Smith, again, more of a winger. Moncler's obviously a number 10. Archibald's a winger. I'm not really seeing an out-and-out number 9 who's going to score you loads of goals in there. That's just my opinion. I think they'll certainly push Stevenage right to the wire. Stevenage are the team who I think will win the league this season. Obviously, at the start of the season, I predicted them to finish 13th. They're currently 2nd in the table. They have defied all odds. One of the biggest overachievers so far this season. Got a very, very good squad. Some of their signings have certainly overperforming so far this season. I think you've got to give a lot of credit to Steve Evans. And there you have it then. I'm sure some of you will disagree, or a lot of you probably will disagree with some of my opinions down in the comment section down below. If you have enjoyed watching today's video though, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. If you could try and hit 100 likes, as I said at the start of today's video, that'd be absolutely class. Subscribe if you are new as well. We are now on the road to 7,000 subscribers, so please make sure you are subscribed if you haven't already, with that post notification bell on. It's free to do so and it does massively help out. Obviously, this is just a little bit of fun, so don't take it too personally down in the comment section down below. So thank you very much for watching though. Have a great rest of your day. Obviously, Thursday is usually the day that I upload my match previews on, but obviously no game for Bradford City this weekend. I do have 2 ground hops for you though, one on Saturday and one on Sunday coming up, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Have a great rest of your day though, and I shall see you all very soon for another video. Peace.